Welcome to my channel. This will be the opening part of what if Ben 10 was invincible. If you end up enjoying the video, leave a like and subscribe for more videos like this one. Ben did what he always does best. He hit the road, not across a state or a country or even a planet, across the galaxies themselves. His journey took him through realities that defy comprehension. He drifted through worlds where evolution had taken a strange and violent turn, where towering descendants of ancient apes had ruled entire continents, their societies built atop bones of civilizations that came before them. Then somewhere far beyond the borders of his own reality, he found something unexpected, a galaxy that looked exactly like home, the same constellations, the same arrangement of planets spinning in their familiar orbits. It was as if someone had taken his own solar system and quietly slipped it through a different corner of existence. Curiosity, as it always does with Ben, won over with caution. He guided his ship into a stable position high above the atmosphere, engaged the camouflage systems, and the vessel vanished in the black canvas of space. Then, with the ease of someone who had done this 1,000 times before, Ben slapped down on the Omnitrix. Green light flooded the cockpit. When it faded, he wasn't Ben Tennyson anymore. He was Jet Ray, a sleek aerodynamic predator built for the sky. He dove downward, cutting through clouds, the wind screaming past his fins as the unfamiliar earth rushed up to meet him. He didn't know yet that this world had its own heroes. He didn't know it had its own war being fought in broad daylight between two people who were never supposed to be enemies. He found them fast, a father and a son, locked in a battle that had nothing to do with saving the world and everything to do with betrayal. This was Mark Grayson, Omni-Man, and his son, Mark Grayson, the hero known as Invincible. What Ben didn't know was the history behind this fight. He didn't know that a group of powerful defenders called the Guardians of the Globe had already been slaughtered by the very man now hovering in the air. He didn't know that Omni-Man had spent years pretending to protect the planet he was actually sent to conquer. All Ben saw was a battered young man crumpled somewhere in the distance, and an older, far more powerful figure standing over the wreckage of what used to be his family, trying to convince his own child to help him enslave an entire species. Ben didn't need to know the whole story. He just needed to see who was throwing the punches and who was trying to survive them. His instincts, honed across 100 different battles, told him everything he needed to know. Omni-Man was the threat. Before he could act, Omni-Man sent his son flying, launching Invincible hundreds of feet away in a single brutal strike. Then those cold, calculating eyes turned skyward, towards Jet Ray. Omni-Man surged forward, a blur of red and white. He closed the distance in seconds. Jet Ray banked hard, diving towards the ground, and in a flash of green light, he became something else entirely. Accelerate hit the pavement running, a streak of blue skimming across rooftops and streets. For a moment, Omni-Man actually hesitated. He wasn't used to something outrunning him. He gave chase anyway, certain that raw power could win out over speed. He was wrong. Accelerate didn't just outrun him. He became a blur that Omni-Man's eyes couldn't even track. Thousands of strikes landed in the space of a few heartbeats, each one faster than the last, until the Viltrumites seemed to freeze in place, caught in a storm he couldn't even see coming. The friction alone was devastating. Omni-Man's skin began to tear and blister from the sheer velocity of the assault, heat building across his arms and chest faster than his body could recover. Accelerate eased off just enough to vanish from his sight completely, tucking himself out of view before Omni-Man could retaliate. Omni-Man staggered, wincing, fury boiling beneath the pain that as he scanned every direction for his attacker. He found nothing, only silence. Then without warning, a sharp crystalline projectiles tore his back, embedding themselves in his flesh before detonating in a small, precise burst. He roared, stumbling forward in the open air, blood splattering around him. That was when Ben made his move. Massive hands wrapped around Omni-Man's body, lifting him in the ground entirely, as Ben shifted into his largest, most overwhelming form.
Thanks for the DNA mustache, man. Now I'm really gonna kick your ass.
It was true. Somewhere in the middle of their exchange, without Omni-Man ever realizing it, Ben had scanned him. The Omnitrix already logged his genetic code, quietly filing away the biology of one of the most powerful beings in this reality. Omni-Man screamed as Waybig's fingers closed tighter. Then, with a final surge of strength, Ben hurled him skyward and fired a concentrated plasma blast that tore through the air like a second sun. The beam connected, and Omni-Man's skin burned away entirely, leaving him raw and exposed beneath the assault. Ben transformed a final time, green light consumed him, and when it cleared, he stood in a form no one had ever seen before, tall, powerful, unmistakably Viltrumite in structure. Ben didn't know the name of Omni-Man species yet, so for now, he simply called it Super Ben. Omni-Man barely had time to process what was happening. Pain radiated from every fiber of his body, his vision blurring at the edges. The last thing he saw before losing consciousness was a fist moving faster than anything he'd ever faced, closing the distance between them in an instant. The impact sent him spiraling upward, past the clouds, past the atmosphere, until he was nothing more than a drifting shape, lost in a vast, silent, dark space. Meanwhile, Mark had only just begun to recover, several minutes removed from the fight and still trying to process what his father had done to him. Through his earpiece, Cecil's voice cut through the static, calm but clearly stunned, informing him that Omni-Man had been defeated by a mysterious shape-shifting alien that no one had ever seen before. Mark sat there in silence for a long time, staring up at the sky, trying to make sense of it all. His father, a being he believed was the strongest thing in this world, had just been taken down by someone from another world entirely. Ben looked around at this strange, unfamiliar Earth, turning the events of the last few minutes over in his mind. There was something about that man, something about the anger and desperation behind his attacks that Ben couldn't quite shake. What exactly had Omni-Man's deal been? Before he could think much further, Cecil approached, flanked by agents and wreckage from the battles still smoldering nearby. He introduced himself plainly, the leader of the Global Defense Agency, the man responsible for coordinating nearly every hero on the planet. But Ben studied him for a moment, then extended a hand and gave him his own name in return. He wasn't sure why exactly. Maybe it was curiosity, maybe it was the pull of unfinished business, but standing there on an Earth that wasn't quite his own, Ben Tennyson decided that his road trip could wait a little longer. This version of Earth had earned a bit more of his time. That will be it for this opening part. Get this to 100 likes and I'll make this a full series. Make sure to like and subscribe for more videos like this one.